Now, folks, I want to talk to you about what I've seen happening on our streets. I think it's been, frankly, a total farce. People getting longer sentences than paedophiles for Facebook posts, de facto blasphemy laws by the back door, and even flying an England flag near a mosque, landing you in the slammer. As Boris Johnson points out in his Daily Mail column today, under this Labour government, what's true and provable has become unspeakable. The mainstream media, craven as they are, including the BBC, Channel 4 and Sky News, or Sly News, keeps parroting Labour's Orwellian nonsense, calling illegal migration... It's been renamed, folks. It's not illegal migration anymore, it's irregular. Why are they parroting Labour lines like there's some backbench MP with a script? There by Labour Party headquarters. Let's be absolutely clear. It's not irregular, it's illegal. Labour might be confused about what a woman is, but the rest of us still know how to call a spade a spade. Right. Now, it just really struck me, that piece, when I was reading that piece, because I just thought we are losing all sense of common sense, right? We are living through the age of nonsense. And I'm deeply concerned about it. And I don't think the mainstream media should be parroting the lines that have been fed to them by the Labour Party. And frankly, I don't think the Home Office ought to be calling it irregular migration either. I mean, what are they going to do when millions of people start coming through? Because irregular migration is going to get worse. It's a phenomenon that's not going to go away. Yeah. Renee?
Well, if you start to silence people now, which is what they're doing very cleverly and very effectively, because if you only need to look at social media now and to, anyone who previously would have been outspoken, to know that people are censoring themselves on this topic because they have been scared by this, waving a flag near a mosque, going to prison, putting something on Facebook that was horrific. What that woman who went to prison put on Facebook was horrific. Nobody should condone violence or damaging anyone, but should she have gone to prison when paedophiles walk free?
And she's a carer as well.
She's a carer for her own husband. So the problem that we have is that people are feeling so suppressed that it's just going to create more bubble from under the lid until eventually the saucepan explodes.
Also, practically, the prisons are full, aren't they?
Yeah, they are, yeah.
What are we doing? Do you have the space for these people?
Well, you do if you let out paedophiles.
Yeah,
right.
Well, yeah. Or let off paedophiles, yeah.
Yeah, I don't bother sending them in the first place.
And which did happen earlier this week. And a lot of viewers contact me and say, I'm absolutely irate, I can't believe this is happening. But Dame Andrea, Mary Larkin says that's one thing Boris has got right, as in this column today. Now, do you think one thing he got wrong, or one thing the Conservatives got wrong, was not building enough prison capacity, for example?
I mean, we could have built more, without a doubt. But I think the key thing is we should have looked at real criminals, and I think it's beyond government there, Darren, which the problem is. I mean, in my brief time as a minister, even the civil service, we've seen at universities, it's every level of the public sector where we're seeing this wokeness and silencing of free speech. And so I think it's beyond government, because I think we need to reform the civil service, Darren, and have an American system where the top levels, so you can get your legislation through, so you're not being called a bully for actually challenging the civil servants. I think that is one of the major problems that we need to change.
Yes. Now, Nikki, bringing you in, Grumpy Grandad in our comments says, who I love, he is one of my favourites, he's always commenting. He says, people getting locked away for waving an England flag in their own nation. Keir Starmer is going too far. He might have a big majority in Parliament, but he doesn't have a big majority in the real world. Do you think he's losing the British public?
Well, let's start at the beginning with the illegal term.
Irregular.
That has been shifted to irregular. If you get on a boat and arrive in another country, that in itself is not illegal. What is illegal is whether you have the appropriate background to stay in that country, right? So if you are a legitimate refugee, you aren't and never will be illegal. If you're not processed and you've got no claim, then you'll be sent back, right? So the definition is to do with the travel through the water.
So how many have been sent back?
3, apparently, to Rwanda.
Not very many.
But you can't really blame that on a new government. That 14 years of Tory rule pretty much, filled up the country because they didn't take control of immigration, because the Home Office was in such a catastrophic state from the time of Theresa May.
But Labour are about to say to 100,000 almost people that have arrived here illegally, and I will continue to use that word.
But it's right, that's wrong under international law, Darren. It is the UN.
In the 1971 Immigration Act, it says that if you do not turn up to this country with the proper papers to actually say you have a right to be here, like a visa act, etc.,
it's literally where you draw the line and where you cross the water.
Well, I draw a line at the border, and
right,
you can
okay, well, maybe you just need to shift it forward into the sea, because that's the only difference. We're literally talking about that.
I would shift it to France and leave it there.
Oh, completely.
The point is, Darren, if you lived in this country under Stalinist conditions, actual Stalinist conditions, you would do anything to seek refuge somewhere else. You would do anything to protect your family.
What, in France?
When people get on boats and decide to land somewhere, they do it out of desperation.
But they're mainly economic migrants. You see them with Apple iPhones, don't you? Okay, and it's usually young blokes, isn't it? Yeah.
People have Apple iPhones everywhere in the world.
It's many young blokes, though, isn't it?
Yes, and that's the point that I do agree with you on, that we should pause all single young men being allowed in and only let women and children in.
Oh, OK,
but there aren't any of those.
Well, there are plenty out. They're all stuck back at home, not being looked after because the men are on the boat.
You can't send them back. Where are you going to send them to? You don't know where they come from. They don't-
Sorry, I didn't hear what you said.
Right, so these young men who you think should not be in the country, you just agreed that.
Well, we don't know. We don't know if they've got.
What do you do with
We don't know if they've got a legal claim or not until you process them.
You can't process them if they throw away their documents and won't say where they come from.
Exactly.
But that's fine. If they deliberately have no evidence that they've got a legal right to stay in the country, fine, send them back.
But they should have stayed in France, though.
Yeah, but still, human nature is to try and survive no matter what your condition. And you've got to accept that if you were living under...
But we're soft-touch Britain, so they're swarming here.
If you thought you were living in conditions that were terrible for you, your future, you would take a chance.
I would quite go and like to live in America, but they won't let me.
Well, yeah, they won't let me either. I've been kicked out of America and Australia, where all my family live. I can't get a visa to be with my family.
But
I mean, it's just the world.
Christine says, get Nikki to answer that question. If they have no papers, no documents whatsoever, and they turn up and they say, well, I'm from Afghanistan, right? I was a translator for the British Army.
That should be very easy to check out, though.
How?
Because we've got so much information available to us through authorities. If somebody's had a legitimate job, right, in a ministry, you can check that within half an hour. You just get on the phone.
So we call
and you
up
ring.
the Taliban.
It takes. Yeah, but that's what I'm saying. If they've got a legitimate reason, you'll be able to find that out extremely quickly.
Nikki,
It's too hard to prove. Too hard to prove.
Cuckoo land.
Why do we have the internet if it's not for connecting the whole
The Taliban
world?
aren't sat there on the internet, are
So
they?
you're presuming the majority of single young men that come to this country are terrorists?
No.
No, they're economic migrants.
Right.
Economic migrants.
There will be terrorists among them.
Yes.
Well, there's terrorists. There are homegrown terrorists. The problem in this country is second-generation
But the homegrown terrorists we actually know something about. We know.
Well, we don't.
absolutely
That's the whole
nothing
point.
about
We
these
don't
people.
know about them.
So we don't know
That's why
about them, but we know plenty about people coming in from France.
No, I said we can find out if we could be bothered. The Home Office has got this insane backlog of applications to process. It's not fit for purpose. It's never been fit for purpose ever since Theresa May got her hands on it. And that's the issue. This is the legacy of the Tories mismanagement. It's not right or
Well,
wrong.
hang on, we have to let Angie answer that. That was
But
fantastic.
is actually the Home Office civil servants. I mean, I've actually asked the Prime Minister, I said that I want to ensure that that the crime stats in the UK is published per nationality. Because I think that's important.
But it is.
It's not all of it. Not all of it. No,
You've got to look at prison statistics
no,
to
it's
find out
not.
national-
It's not. And I think we need to know where. And we should not be importing crime and criminals into our country.
No.
So we need stringent checks,
Well,
and we shouldn't let them leave France. Actually,
I think we
And
need to
also,
stop.
back to Darren's point, we're not even allowed to discuss this now. So if we...
Well, yeah, because we're having a discussion. You can't say that.
at the moment,
Normal everyday people are not allowed now on social media, in their WhatsApp groups, to discuss their fears, their genuine fears.
Which is completely legitimate. But the other thing I would say is being married to an immigrant with a mixed-race child and all my family are Muslim, please think about the real-world repercussions on people when you talk down about immigrants, because it affects everyday lives.
Right, we'll have to leave that there.
Have you got what it takes to be a reasoned presenter? Well, send us a short clip of yourself to join@reasoned.uk and we might be seeing you on this very channel very soon indeed.